A little bit late, but always on time. It's a roll tide sort of evening. We will be back with an excellent show in about 20 seconds. It's Herb. It's Rodg.
In the building.
Yep. Already getting the well wishes. Have a great show. Thank you to
Appreciate
Randy.
that, Randy.
Randy, a Georgia Bulldog fan, so he's living high on the
large
hog right now,
yeah.
as they say. Yep. So, Herb and Rodg, if you're listening to us live, YouTube, Twitter, or X, or Twitter X, or where else are we at, Rodg? Live. Facebook, I guess, too.
YouTube.
If you're live on there. Yep.
We got an Instagram, YouTube, Herb and Rodg Podcast. We're everywhere.
Or if you're listening to the replay and you're trying to wonder, like, this was Tuesday night at 7, where were you? We missed you. So
we're actually trying to be everywhere. Yeah.
We're trying to be. So I want to say we have a great show lined up for you tonight, but I have no idea. We're just going to throw it out there and see what happens.
Well, I know it's going to be a phenomenal show as long as you're here.
Wow.
Lame.
Right, wow. I'll drink to that. Rod, so last week, even when we had a win, we weren't very excited,
right?
You may say, but a little bit better spirits this game. But when we had phone calls, especially at halftime of this last game, they weren't the best phone calls.
They weren't. They weren't.
Take everybody through those conversations. What was kind of going on?
What, during this past weekend or what?
Yeah, this past week at halftime.
Well, at halftime, I think you and I had a conversation, and we were just extremely confused, fed up, and frustrated with the way that the offense was performing at the time. And it wasn't like we were just screaming at each other, or just yelling, or just going crazy. We were just like, we just kept on hoping that week by week things would get better on the offense. And by the first half, things really hadn't gotten better, and we had absolutely no idea what to do. And I think I might have been me even contemplated just turning off the game and watching something else, but the Bama fan deep down inside me just could not turn off the game. Like, I had to watch the game.
How deep down was he at that point?
I mean, I was feeling horrible, but the Bama fan was down. I had to deep down there and find him, like, in my gut somewhere, but I really found him. Usually he's just right here. I can just grab him, but he was in the gut this time. But luckily, things turned around in the second half.
Yeah. So what do you think changed? Was it just halftime adjustments? Was it a little more fire? Like, what changed, do you think, second half?
I mean, might have been a few halftime adjustments. It seemed like our defense came out with more intensity in the second half. They started to play a little tougher. I started to notice a few hits that I liked that kind of gave me the thoughts and the ideas and the indications of the old Bama and how we used to play and how we used to play a defense. I'm not sure if any of the receivers talked to Jalen Milroe or whatever, because obviously Milroe threw some passes in the second half where he just went deep. Obviously, the one he threw to Jalen Hill where he took that big hit, and I think it seemed like the rib cage maybe, and he got up and he was the Hail Mary. And okay, before we proceed, you have to explain why we're laughing.
Oh, because my wife Brittany was watching the game, and she saw him, and she goes, "Oh, is that what a Hail Mary is?" And I said, "No." This was before that touchdown. It was the first one he caught. I was like, "No, you got to throw it up." So then when he caught that one, she was like, Hail Mary? And I was like, I guess we'll let you get away with that one. So,
yeah. But once he threw that pass to Jalen Hill and he got up and he was okay and he gave us the fist pump, it was a good sign of that. We ran the ball pretty well. Defense played really well. That second half, the entire second half was just a good indication of what we hope to see in the upcoming weeks and for the rest of the season. Will it happen? We never know. We just don't know at this time. So we'll see. What did you think about the game?
A lot of what you said. It just didn't seem like we came out with that fire, like to correct mistakes from last week, and it would just look lethargic. And, I mean, there's still two big things that stand out to me. Throwing an interception, and the end zone was just bad. And then I'll never understand why we're in the shotgun at the 1 yard line. Like, it doesn't make sense.
That was super frustrating because it was a bad snap, and then we got moved back, lost yardage, and then we had to kick a field goal. And you're just like, those are the type of plays that you just can't really mess up, especially when you were playing teams like A&M on the road, LSU, Iron Bowl, and luckily, if we get lucky, make it to the SEC championship. So Yeah, that was just kind of strange. And go back to the interception that you mentioned. Again, it was when they show the replay, you look at the coverage and you're just thinking Milroe has been watching the same receiver from the moment he hiked the ball. Yeah. Hasn't really looked his eye, hasn't really went through any progressions. And he just said, okay, this is who I'm throwing to because this is the play that was called. You can't make those type of passes. It was just a bad pass. Yeah. It just wasn't.
I don't even feel like smart. The DBs are ever making good plays on Milroe. They're just like in a spot and he's throwing it to him. You know?
Yeah. So. And I wonder if the DBs are saying, look, if he doesn't really read through his progressions, maybe the DBs know that. And they right after the ball's hiked, they're just watching his eyes and say, okay, we know that's where the ball's going regardless.
Basically.
So that's something that Milroe has to fix. And Reese has to talk to him, quarterbacks, whoever it may be, just have a conversation with him about his progressions. And I mean, throughout the game in the second half, it did look like he was reading them at sometimes, but that one on that specific interception, it was just a bad pass.
Agreed. Randy, I was watching their show on Friday night. Randy picked us. His cohort, who I don't know yet, did pick against us, but Randy get that. And I assume by Brian's comment, he picked against us too. So
yeah.
Thanks a lot. You did off Lady Alpha Zen. Good afternoon. She's feeling good because her Ohio State Buckeyes won this week in the tight.
That's true. So. That was a nail biter of a game in which I missed the second half, I believe, but I was getting the text from you, basically letting me know that I missed a heck of a game and a really, really interesting ending from what people are saying. Obviously, I've seen the replays now, but I missed it when it happened live.
I was just goofing it. There was a lot of obviously defensive battle, and as much as we talked about Ohio State offensively coming into this year, the defense has been really what's kept them in it.
Yep.
Notre Dame just seemed like wasted time. Wasted a chance to run out the clock. Ohio State just put together a drive at the end. A pass down to the 1 yard line, chance to run 2 plays. The second play, they run it in with 1 second left. Notre Dame only has 10 men on the field. It's just like a lot of goofiness, but like you just got to give credit. They've got, one of the best wins, if not the best win now. Yep. So, that's going to vault them up. And the tough part of their schedule, really, you think in Penn State and Michigan still have them. Dropping this game to Notre Dame really would have hurt, though.
Right.
So, no, it's just a tough team. And then, you had to see the Ryan Day comments afterwards, right?
I saw that. Well, Lou Holtz did come out and make a comment prior to the game the day before. So
right.
And I'm going to say this is my personal opinion. I'm okay with what Ryan Day said. You're defending your team. Somebody came out here, made a comment about your team and how soft your team was or the intensity of your team. Your team came out there, backed it up. They won a big game. So speak up. You're happy. You're energetic. I have no problem with what Ryan Day did.
Yep, I agree. It's fine. It's emotional. It's college football. And it's funny he went after Lou Holtz because I was like, I didn't even know Lou Holtz was still alive and commentating and doing stuff. I think Lou Holtz's comment today was like, oh, well, bro, I said what I said and I'll say it again. So, he's a Notre Dame guy at heart. So, of course he's going to defend his team. So, here's a comment back on the game. Just have to embrace who they are this year and win game 21-14. I would be happy with that. I'll be fine. If that's what we had been led to believe coming into this year was that's how we were going to do games.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, we're not leaning on the running game as much at times, and we're trying to make him a drop back passer. Nobody thought any of that was going to go well.
Right.
Anyway. So
I think Randy made a good point. This is something that you and I have discussed off the air. Is like at this point, we just have to take everything week by week, and regardless of the score, just a win is a win. Now, obviously, if we don't annihilate somebody, like beat somebody 60-7 when we're supposed to, people in the rankings might look at this and we might drop 1 or 2 spots. But at the end of the day, a win is a win, especially with the way we've been playing. If we go into Mississippi State Saturday, I know we're like 14.5 favorites, but I don't care if we win by 3. If we win, we win, and we'll move on to A&M. So I'm fine with that.
I heard you had a cowbell something happened with cowbells or no? Oh, don't talk.
Herb
just have to tune into the YouTube channel.
Turn into our YouTube channel when the post is made, and you'll find out what Herb is alluding to. So it was a very interesting run-in with the Mississippi State fan that I had. So turn into our YouTube channel and check it out.
All right. And Randy, of course, has a different take on Day's statements. So that's what we call it. So now Randy will have to tag us in some of that, and we'll definitely come.
Hey, that's fine. I want to see what Randy says. That's perfectly fine. I was okay with it. I wonder if some people are alluding to the fact that maybe since Lou Holtz is older that you can't say certain things. But I mean, I don't care, bro. You said something about my
it's
team.
the United States of America.
Yeah,
you're either
we
you're
can
old,
do
either you have no respect or you're running Congress. So we don't really care otherwise.
Yeah.
And then Lady Alpha about the Ohio State. Yeah, that was intense. Yeah, that ending was just. I want to feel like I fell asleep but woke back up and caught the end of that game. So
yeah.
Well, I'm never ever going to take any of this for granted.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Especially not with this team.
It has nothing to do with Mississippi State at all. It just like Herb said, it has to do with how our team has been playing. And if you watch the South Florida game, we don't know what to expect and we don't know what we're going to get. So if we win, if we cover, I think we have the potential to cover, obviously. But I don't know what team's going to come out there Saturday. So I don't know.
No idea, sir. No idea. All right. So with the rest of the games, well, you do have like I said, Mississippi State coming up here. And we'll probably be talking about that a little bit more in our college football picks. You got to check out our YouTube channel to get all of the material. College picks, we usually talk a little bit about Bama at the end. So we'll talk more about that then. But the rest of the look back, well, there you go. Randy, I guess they're probably talking about this.
Right.
Lou Holtz called them out for losing to Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Michigan as if Notre Dame hasn't lost to them. So,
yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, that's I want to say probably have lost each one of their games to like each one of those last people that you're mentioning. So I think their last major wins feels like it was Clemson during the 2020 season, and we still beat them in the playoffs. So like, or is that not 29? I don't know.
We're talking about Ohio State, right?
No, she's talking about Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Lou Holtz is calling them out for calling Ohio State out for losing to all those teams, as if Notre Dame has not lost to those teams. So looking back, Rodg, well, speaking on Clemson, did you get to catch the Florida State Clemson game?
I did. That was a good game, and I really, really thought I picked Florida State initially, but I thought by watching the game that Clemson was going to pull it out, and they probably should have. Things just didn't go their way at the end, but Jordan Travis is still one of the better quarterbacks in the nation. I think it's Keon Cole, the wide receiver from Florida State, huge wide receiver, good wide receiver from Florida State. But yeah, I did watch some of that game. It was a pretty good game. And I'm glad you brought that up because I guess the question that I'm posing to you is like, where is Clemson at right now? I know they have 2 losses on the season. We know what you're used to seeing back when Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence was there. Have they lost that luster? Is there a chance that they get back to where they were as far as prominence is concerned, the college football playoff? If they already have 2 losses this year, Cade Klubnik comes back next year. I don't know how much better they'll be next year. What do you think about? And Randy just chimed in on that
too. Can we agree? I mean, so their good part for them is they're still in the ACC, right? And it looks like you would think Florida State's the only team they got to get by,
right?
With the schedule expanding, but it feels like most of the bids are going to come from the Big Ten and the SEC outside of that, and their losses this year have just been terrible. Like losing to Duke the way they did.
Duke was bad, yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. And even this Florida State game turns on a major turnover, a scoop and score. And it just seems like, teams aren't really scared of them.
Right.
Their schedule's not that tough outside of, like playing Florida State. Like the rest of the ACC, you wouldn't say is like really world beaters, but they're just. I guess we expected more from Cade Klubnik coming into this.
Yep.
And if you don't have that Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, it just seems like they're kind of floundering. So I don't know.
And I guess and then does that speak about recruiting? Like I don't know. I'm not familiar with Clemson's recruiting and what they look like for next year. So I don't know. Or is it just them not attracting the attention? And we know that Dabo has came out and criticized what was it, the transfer portal? And
he doesn't like the transfer portal.
He doesn't like
that's. Unfortunately, that's one of those ways that you can kind of plug in stuff that you're missing.
Right.
I'm not saying you got to go wholesale all the time, but if it's a key position that you're going after, there was a lot of quarterback movement this past year.
Yeah.
So,
and keep in mind, Clemson. This could be an interesting game. Clemson's at Syracuse this Saturday. Syracuse is 4-0. Clemson's favored by a touchdown. That could be an interesting game. I know it's not going to be one that might not be on our viewers guide or anything like that, but. There's a good chance that Syracuse might pull that victory out. And again, this is me. I've not paid too much attention to Syracuse.
And we'll probably having to be picked this game later, so I guess I'll save some of my thoughts for that. But I just don't ever feel like Syracuse is ready. Syracuse makes their reputation off of playing Clemson tough every year, so they probably won't get blown out. But And I guess now they're having a different talk.
And Clemson still has to
Georgia. Agree their championship days are over. Yep. Cuse by 3. Ooh. I mean, that's one of those almost I feel like flipping a coin sometimes. I'll probably still pick Clemson. And then the end of the game management by Clemson was terrible. But I mean, a lot of these teams, I don't know, it's like I guess Trey, they're trying to get in a position or selling for field goals. You just don't see like the sharpness at the end of the game. So them letting it go get into over. But I mean, just Florida State played better. So definitely deserve to win that. They've got the inside track. The biggest problem for Clemson now, Rodg, is 2 conference losses.
Yes,
so you could have suffered the Florida State loss and maybe beat everybody else and get back to it. Now you're just, you're far behind. And teams like NC State and North Carolina are
and they play at Miami.
Yeah, so
they play at Miami. Miami's looking good this year, and they host Notre Dame. Obviously, that's not a conference game, but they host Notre Dame. They still got to play, like you said, UNC and South Carolina. So they could lose. They could lose probably 4 or 5 games this year if things don't go their way. So
a lot of what we're talking about with them sounds like what we're talking about Alabama.
I know.
So, and look, people are meeting over in our chat line.
Yes,
so we bring people together.
We bring people together.
Yeah, and Brian will actually be on the show next week. Brian's an Oklahoma fan. He will be going up against a Texas fan. The trash talk
rivalry coming up. Yes, that'll be an exciting show.
Started. Yes, so I'm definitely looking forward to that show. The rest of your games are this weekend. Very under the radar game. Utah over UCLA 14-7. Cam Rising still not starting. I mean, that's one of those like we picked, but Utah seems to be. Have you ever seen a 2-time Pac-12 champion as disrespected as you? Like nobody's really talking about.
I don't even really want to watch Utah. I watched the Utah-Florida game simply because it was the first game of the season, and I had AT&T and not Spectrum. Shout out to the people who kind of missed the game like Spectrum did. But that was the only really time I wanted to watch Utah play. Other than that, I don't really pay too much attention to him. And what's the deal with Cam Rising? I honestly don't know. Is he supposed to come back
rehabbing an injury? And I honestly think sometimes they push it out another week when they think they can beat the team. But this game was ugly, right? It started on a defensive touchdown, and then I mean, you look at the score, 14-7 for the whole rest of the game.
And so, I picked UCLA to win the game, so
I know.
I mean, they only lost by 7, but
Utah without Cam Rising is like watching paint dry. Why are people always insulting watching paint dry?
I was just about to say that. What if some people find that like really, really soothing or something? I mean, it does sound somewhat boring to my perspective, but some people might like watching paint dry. I don't know. Anybody in the comments, let us know if you like watching paint dry.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Somebody's gonna pop up and say it's very soothing, Roger.
Yes.
Utah's just a huge contrast to the rest of the conference. Everyone else is playing great offense and dropping 50 spots, and Utah's Utah's almost like Iowa, just a little bit better as far as winning games. So.
And speaking of the rest of the conference, let me give a special shout out to Michael Penix Jr. And I posted this on Facebook. Like I knew about him and I knew how talented he was, but I watched him some in the game, Cal, simply because there was really no other games on. He's a good quarterback. He throws a nice what?
You're that Shaq meme right now. I apologize. I wasn't familiar with your game.
Yeah. I heard about him when he was at Indiana. I knew how well he played last year, but he just looked good Saturday. And I mean, they played Cal. Cal's 2-2, but he's a solid looking quarterback, good arm, accurate. Does some really, really nice football. So shout out to Michael Penix Jr. Definitely gonna. What do you think he's gonna land in the draft? I don't know what Mel Kiper's draft board looks like, and there's a couple other guys ahead of him. So I'm thinking maybe second, third round. But again,
Williams is up there, and
Drake May's up there.
Drake May are your top 2. So I haven't looked at Penix's his stuff. I think for Penix, the game against. So this was what I was going to talk in the look ahead, but. Oregon, who are we talking about? Oregon, Washington, USC, like all play each other.
Yeah.
And then, whoever comes out of it will get in the Pac-12 championship game. Those games are going to go a long way. It's easy to put up points when the other team's overmatched. But in a game where you hey, if you don't score a touchdown in this possession, you guys might lose. So that will be interesting to me, how that shakes out when they're all playing together head to head. And that I think will have a lot to do with his draft stock.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
And he says Penix actually passed Caleb in the Heisman rankings. I'm gonna wait till later in the year to really worry about those because I remember when they thought Tua was gonna win the Heisman up until the end. So I want to see him in those big games. They haven't really got to the beat of their schedule, and that's when I would That's when I pass judgment on
it. And Caleb Williams and USC, they play Colorado Saturday. And prior to Travis Hunter getting injured, I think this game would have been entertaining. I will say this. I don't think USC is going to blow them out as bad as Colorado blew them out because Colorado just has like a complete team.
You mean
but
Oregon?
USC does that, huh? I mean Oregon.
Like
sorry.
Yeah.
I mean Oregon, yeah. But USC has obviously they have one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, so I do think USC is going to win the game. I don't, as far as the score, I'm not sure. I hope Colorado bounces back, but I still don't think that they're going to have without Travis Hunter. It's going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, last week they took an L. I don't think they bounced back.
They never did. And I've started to realize that you're saying that on every podcast now. So it's going to be a staple. So. It's going to be a staple. Okay.
This is the only one I was going to point. I think the USC defense won't be as good as Oregon.
No,
so
they're not.
That will help in the score. Obviously, having Travis Hunter would help. Still think USC is better. Maybe I don't cover the 21, but I do think, USC is probably putting up 50 on them, something like that. So it'll be interesting. They took it on the chin this last week against Oregon. They were just overmatched from the beginning. Dan Lanning had those guys ready to play. Did you have any comments on the pregame speech by him, or did you care?
No, about what he said about Colorado?
Yeah.
I felt like what he said was based on Colorado's past performances in like previous years, and I don't think he meant it as a direct jab at Deion, although it kind of seemed that way. But I just felt like he was talking about, look, Colorado hasn't really played well the previous years. That's what he's saying.
Right. I had no problem with it. And look, after the game in the post game, he even said, like, look, I'm going to say whatever it takes to motivate my guys.
Right.
But he was like complimentary of Deion and what he's done. Like, look, there's going to be a love-hate with the whole Deion thing. Like, nobody can stop that. But Colorado is ecstatic to see where they are from the second he walked in. Did they even get a Big 12 invite if he doesn't there? Colorado's dead in the water before this. They won one game last year.
Right.
So no matter if you love or hate Deion, he has changed the culture of what's going on in Colorado and made them must-see. There's no way that Oregon game is primetime game if he's not there.
Even when they played Colorado State and the game went on until like 1 a.m, people were still watching that simply because it was Deion in Colorado. If it was Colorado from last year, nobody's watching that game.
Yeah. So Colorado's happy with it. So I assume this is about the Dan Lanning comments and not the Deion part. But like I said, I you do what you do to motivate your team and win the games. So I'm fine with it. So your look ahead, Rodg. There was a game. I'll throw out Brian's game. He plays against Oregon State. That's an interesting one. I mean, 2 ranked teams and Utah playing under the radar. So you'll have to tune into our YouTube, I guess, to get our exact thoughts on when we pick the winners and losers. Roger usually pick the winner. I'll pick the loser. But, that's one of those games that Utah really can't overlook. I feel like I wrote down that Oregon State was actually favored in this year.
They're favored. Oregon State favored by 3.5.
Right. So that's an interesting line to me already for the 2-time Pac-12 championship. Be interesting to see if Cam Rising changes that. But Oregon State, one of those sneaky kind of under the radar teams that will definitely trip up one of the big boys this year, I think. Then you've got USC at Colorado. We just talked about that. Georgia, Randy's Bulldogs at Auburn. Georgia's smoking them.
Georgia's favored by 14.5, but Georgia's gonna win. I don't think it's gonna be close. Yeah, it's gonna take Auburn a few years for them to kind of get back to where they. At least
I hope it takes them like 30 years.
30, yeah. I can wait.
Yeah, we're good with that. So, Kansas at Texas. So this one is interesting to me because there was a little trash talk in our thread today. And who was it? They said Kansas was going to be their toughest battle. Yep. So I'm looking forward to that game. Texas favored by 16.5. I don't feel like they cover that though.
I don't either. I think, and I said this before. I think Texas is going to lose a game this season, and it's going to be against an opponent that we didn't think was going to happen. But this is a home game for them in Austin, so I don't think they're going to lose this one. The Red River rivalry will be a good game, though. Will be much more competitive than it was last year.
Yes. And sorry, I'm trying to find one with that.
Well, Brian said, "Give me Kansas."
Oh, I'm sorry. The Texas fan said that Kansas will play them closer than Oklahoma will.
Oh. Okay.
So that was the trash talk. So
yeah.
And Brian's like, "Give me Kansas." Yeah.
Yep.
The Oklahoma guy, of course, says give me Kansas. So rock chalk, yeah. So and going back, Georgia will cover this. I believe, against Auburn, definitely. And your last couple games, Raj. LSU and Ole Miss. Ole Miss.
I was just looking at that
only
one.
a 2.5 point underdog.
That is strange. I know it's a road game for LSU, but I feel like LSU's offense and defense are much more superior to Ole Miss's. So I'm going to say LSU by 10 in this game.
Yeah.
This might be, since it's on at 5:00. This might be a game that I do tune into though.
Yeah, we'll check that out this weekend. I know we're probably making a pick on that game, so that'll be interesting. So that's really the any other college games we'll be making our college picks. You got to tune into our YouTube channel to check that out.
Yep.
And this is the last college thing. Colorado will go 6-6 this year. Will be the most covered 6-6 team in college, of course.
Probably so.
Deion has made them into an institution. So
if you look at the rest of Colorado's schedule after like the USC game, and then they got Stanford and some other people, there's a couple of games on there that they can squeeze out some victories. So I can see them going 6-6, making a playoff game, making a bowl game, and
it'd be great if they voted him into the playoff at 6-6. That would be
the whole world would go bananas. Everybody would go back to 2014 when this was first implemented and be like, "How are they making it?" Oh my gosh, it would go. The committee would have to find an entirely new committee for next year.
Yeah. Oh, and okay. So Rod, we're gonna transition to NFL, but we're gonna make a pit stop in.
Okay. Can't wait till we talk about the NFL.
Why?
No. What's the pit stop? Let's get through the pit stop.
Okay. My boy Dame Lillard. They're trying to get into Miami.
Yes.
Toronto has somehow come up as a suitor for him. Yes. I don't understand this. And so this is E. I got E, our resident NBA guy, to give me a quote for it. The Toronto Raptors have emerged as a Damian Lillard trade destination. I find it unlikely to happen unless they have another trade lined up or receive another stud in the Lillard trade. I agree with him. First off, whatever you give up is just going to knock you down a peg. And I just don't get what the reason is for Toronto. Like I don't either. So much better with so many other teams.
I could only guess that they would have to get rid of that Portland would want Scotty Barnes and maybe Pascal Siakam. And I'm like, if you have to give up those two, why would you even do the trade? What's the point? You're going to be worse, even with Dame. That you're going to be worse off than what you were.
Agree.
Scotty Barnes is a heck of a player. Siakam's an all-star player. Just keep him and just keep it moving. At this point, I don't know if this trade will ever happen for Dame, and then he'll be back in Portland. And I don't think Dame's a guy who's just going to sit out. He'll play, but he's going to start to realize that maybe he should have made a decision a little sooner in his career to kind of go elsewhere and test the water. But he wanted to stay, loyal, and it is what it is. But I don't understand this trade to Toronto. Like, why?
I don't either.
If you want to win a championship, you're not going to Toronto.
Right. And he doesn't have any control in it, so I see them doing it, but I don't see why you do it from Toronto's standpoint.
Yeah. Now, if you're Portland and they're willing to trade, if you can get Siakam and Barnes or something, you're like, yes, I'm taking this. This is
definitely from Portland's standpoint. Yeah, you go for it. So
yeah.
It was just weird. Milwaukee Bucks have also emerged. I just didn't think they had the assets to trade them.
And you would think Milwaukee would want to kind of keep their core team together. I mean, they were just in the finals a few years ago, so
yeah.
And
I think also Miami, they just don't want to up their offer anymore. They're basically like, look, he wants to come here and nobody else can just come here. So I think they're in 2 first and Tyler Hero. So So that's it on that. So somebody says there's 70 reasons to talk about the NFL.
Yes, I can think of 70 reasons. Thank you, Brian, for bringing that up because I almost felt like Herb forgot.
I don't know what he's talking about, to be honest. I have no clue.
What he means.
Yeah. So we'll get into a little NFL recap.
No, we're going to get into a lot of NFL recap.
Why? You're acting like because of the big blowout. I know you want to talk about it.
Oh, you darn right I do. Fins Nation, stand up.
Yeah, Kansas City blew out Chicago. I think they were up 34-0 at halftime.
Yeah, that's real cute.
Did you say that's real cute?
That's real cute, Herb.
So are you saying you don't want to talk about Taylor Swift and Kelsey dating?
Hey, Taylor Swift did. I'm assuming she had somewhat of an impact in the game. Travis Kelsey had to show up because his newfound young lady was there. And apparently they went on a date afterwards. Probably went out to dinner. Yeah. So nice
I heard couple. She can make a good guy bad for a weekend.
That didn't happen.
She really is an anti-hero, though. So, it's tough to root for her sometimes. No? Okay. I do bring up the
Gosh.
Kansas City and Chicago game though, Raj, just for one. I guess maybe for two reasons.
Okay.
One, I read an article on CBS Sports that they said, "Is it time for the Bears to cut bait and get rid of Fields and jump ship from that?" What do you think?
I don't know. I just feel like Fields would actually be a decent quarterback with a little more protection up front and some weapons. It's just that's just easier said than done. And even with the next upcoming draft, it's like with all these quarterbacks coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago, says let's get a quarterback. But even if they get another quarterback, you still have the same offensive line and the lack of receivers and tight ends. So it's like you kind of got to get to the root of the problem. So to answer your question, I just keep Fields and kind of build around him. But right now he's just running for his life.
Well, and so the article, in fairness to him, did say he's been through like 2 coaching changes in like 3 years already.
Yeah.
And this new coach is trying to make him more of a drop back passer than using his legs. So they get that. But it's like you said, the quarterback draft is huge coming up this year. You're not making a leap. You look terrible. Can I give a hint? Do they make your top 5 worst teams in the league? Do you want to?
Oh yeah, they do. And do you want to segue into that or what? They do make the list. Yes.
Why not, Raj? Raj's top 5 list for this week. Who are the 5 worst teams in the NFL? And will a team that had a top 5 quarterback in the league make this list?
Wow. Yes.
Oh, you're such a okay.
Number 1 worst team in the NFL is the Bears. We were just talking about them. I mean, they're 0-3. And I also read somewhere where there's a good chance they end up with like 2 top 10 picks, or maybe even top 7 picks if things continue the way they are this season. But you look at the rest of their schedule, it's not going to get easier. Justin Fields he's already made his comments about how he feels about the offense. He feels robotic. That was a slight jab at obviously the offensive coordinator because he has to execute the plays that are called. They just don't have a lot of help. It doesn't look good in Chicago. His QBR is 21, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Just the Chicago's worst team in the league right now. Number 2, I got Carolina. As much as it pained me to say Carolina, I know because Bryce Young is there. But again, this is a team that don't do that to me. We love Bryce Young, but he's out last week. I think he's going to be out this week too. We really want to see good things from Carolina, and I think it can happen somewhere in the next few years, but this year is not going to be that year. Number 3, here's where things get interesting. I got Denver. A small part of the reason is because they just lost by 50 points to my Finns. Other than that, I mean,
they lost by 50 this weekend? Was it 50-0?
Other than that, I mean, the Sean Payton experiment currently isn't working. I don't know if Russell, and I'm going to say this might be, I might receive some criticism. Russell Wilson didn't look too bad Saturday. It just so happens that their defense gave up 70 points. So there's not much you can do about that.
When you've got a contract like Russ, you can't have days where you just look too bad. Okay.
Right.
I understand the other team was clicking on all cylinders and you have nothing to do with the defense. But if somebody's putting up 70 on you, you're getting plenty of opportunities and plenty of scoring. It's got to be better. So, no.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Number 4. Now, this thing where things kind of get funny. I got Minnesota here. Now, although I had Kirk Cousins in my top 2 as far as quarterbacks, he still put up good numbers. He's leading the league in yardage, but they're 0-3. They haven't won a game. And number 5, I got Tennessee. Tennessee is another team. I just feel like there's not a lot of hope there. Tannehill's not looking good. Derrick Henry was running for his life. He didn't really perform well this past weekend. I have him on my fantasy team. DeAndre Hopkins. I think we've seen the best of DeAndre Hopkins.
Definitely.
I got Chicago, Carolina, Denver, Minnesota, Tennessee, and I can see a couple of other teams in there. Just depends on how it looks.
Yep. So just I don't know if this is about Fields, but his player because he transferred from Georgia. Bowers cannot go to the Bears. Yeah, I would feel really bad for him if that happened. So
I would feel bad for Bowers.
I thought the Jags is it Ingram at the Jags right now?
He is now, yeah. But that would, I mean, man, Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, and Brock Bowers, that would be a heck of an offense.
Have you ever seen a quarterback lead the league in yardage? Have rumors he might be.
I've heard about. I haven't, but I heard the Jets were out there trying to get Kirk Cousins somehow.
I mean, he would be better than what they have going on, so that would probably be a good fit. Kirk Cousins, just like that guy that I expect him to win certain games, and I expect him to play terrible in certain games, and I just don't know that is ever going to change with him. Do I think you're going to win a Super Bowl with him? No. But I think he'll be a solid team. This year notwithstanding, maybe he'll make some good plays, and if he's playing an overmatched team, put up 300 yards, definitely. So,
who is Brittany Ragsdale? Who's that?
I guess must be a cousin, but doesn't really look like us.
All right, cousin, I love you.
She is the one that came up with the Hail Mary.
Just playing, Britt. Yes, Britt, we love you, Britt. Just talked about your Hail Mary joke. It is Rod and Herb approved, so excellent joke. Britt, this is your homework for this weekend, and you got to come up with another Hail Mary type joke for the Mississippi State game. So figure it out.
Will the Jets with their defense be a contender with Cousins? Yes, just because they play solid defense and they keep, like, you look at this past score, was it 15-10 against New England? They would squeak out enough games and they would put him in a position where they're like, Kurt, you don't have to. It'd be like, I hate to always make the comparison, Alabama games of old. We don't need you to win the game, Kurt. We just need you to not lose this game.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I would go with that. So
yep.
Speaking of which, did you see or read or hear anything about the end of the Chargers-Vikings game? Because that was one of my games.
I didn't, and I missed that game. I did not.
So Minnesota gets all the way down to they have first and goal from the 3, down by 4 with late in the game, right? Cannot get it. Go 4 downs, whatever, right? Chargers get the ball. They run their last play, the Chargers do, right after the 2-minute warning. 4th and 1 from their own 24-yard line. Minnesota is out of timeouts. They elect to go for it and do not get it.
Wow.
So Minnesota is down again, 4 points, 1:51 left in the game. They got to go to just now. They run a couple plays. They get a pass or some weird play. I think it was either pass interference, something like the penalty. Anyway, they get down. They have 4th and 6 from the 15-yard line. Anyway, they get to the 6, so they have first and goal from the 6. They run up there. There's 41 seconds left, I think, when the first play ends. Kirk Cousins cannot hear the play. Your guy cannot hear the play call. You see him on TV. He's just doing like this. He can't hear it. He doesn't get the play off, whatever. Rodg, they waste 30 seconds, 25 to 30 seconds before they snap the ball, and he throws an interception. That was one of the worst. First off, if you can't hear the play call, there's 2 things to do. Run up. Most teams run up and kill. Just go and spike the ball. Timeout.
And you said they had no timeout.
Yeah. Or just run to the line and say, Justin Jefferson, go over there. I'm gonna throw a fade. If I'll throw it out of bounds, we'll say. But you got to do something.
Yeah.
It was just your boy Cousins. How do you defend that, Raj?
I don't defend that at all. It sounds like horrible game management and just lack of awareness of what's going on, and that's something you cannot do if you're a Pro Bowl NFL quarterback. So I can't defend that at all. And keep in mind what Herb says, my boy. It's because I put him on my list last week. What was the list title? It was top 5 NFL
quarterbacks in the NBA.
And I have Kirk Cousins at number 2, even though they were 0-2. I put him up there simply because of his stats. He's this year after week 3, he leads the league in yards. But anyway, no defending that. I can't defend that at all. That's horrible.
All right, so what else we got from this past week? There's Charger, Minnesota. Some of the surprising games before we get into some other game that somebody wants to talk about.
That was surprising. Go ahead.
Baltimore drops a game at home
to Gardner.
First off, I don't understand the Colts division. Well, the Titans are looking terrible. Jacksonville does not look like they want to take charge of the division. Indianapolis is surprisingly spry without their rookie quarterback. But do you put this more on Indy being, playing the game of their life or Baltimore just, I don't know, not being focused? I don't get losses like that at home.
I put it more on Baltimore and just losing focus. I mean, coming into the game, I don't know many people that actually picked Indianapolis, and Baltimore was at home. So I don't see how they kind of lost this. And of course, this is a game that I didn't watch. I was too busy watching a shellacking of the Broncos. But I put this more on Baltimore. Baltimore was the better overall team on both sides of the ball, and you got to win this game. It's Indianapolis. They got their backup quarterback in. And not saying anything bad about Minshew. I think we both kind of agree that Minshew was a decent backup quarterback, and he got the job done. So shout out to him. But, yeah, this is a game that Baltimore –
How do I get a shout-out from you?
I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one.
All right. We've got some other games to go into, but I know you're
don't give me that deep side. Don't do that. Don't you do that to me. I earned this.
All right, Raj.
Yeah, what? Hello?
Denver and Miami.
Yes.
One of the most embarrassing thing. Like I just So you watch the game. Go ahead.
Yes,
take part of your Dolphins minute and walk us through.
So the Dolphins won 70-20.
Start me from the beginning. Like, when did you really know like this was cooking? Like, you know,
I knew things were cooking after the very first touchdown because Tua looked very, very fluid. The offense looked fluid. Tyreek was doing Tyreek things. Tua was spreading the ball around. We were running the ball well. Things looked really good. So at that point, I kind of felt like, we'll get that victory out because I don't think Denver's offense can keep up. But did I think we would score 70? Absolutely not. I don't even remember what the score was at halftime. I want to say we had 50 at half. I honestly don't remember.
I think it was 35. I think it was 14 points in the first, it was 21 in the second.
We had 35 at halftime.
Why do I know better than you?
I'm actually looking at the stats now. It's funny. We scored 14 in the first, 21 in the second, 14 in the third, and then another 21 in the fourth. So I don't know. This just says a lot about Denver. But speaking to Miami, I kind of feel like Miami has the best offense in the league right now. And I know some other people out there might criticize me and say otherwise, but Tua just looks really, really good. He's on the cusp of I think he's leading the NFL as far as MVP voting is concerned right now. I'd have to check what ESPN says and other people, but I would say he's number one as far as the front runner right now. Looks good. Tyreek is just putting up monster numbers. Unfortunately, I don't have him on my fantasy team. But just excited to see the Dolphins. My fantasy team is 0-3. We're in dead last out of 10 teams? We're number 10. So we stink. This is embarrassing. I kind of feel like this league is rigged because Herb kind of invited me into the league,
but you won it the first year.
Although I did win 2 years ago, so maybe it's not rigged. It's just kind of weird.
I've only won one game in this league, so I'm not. Oh, I'm sorry. I've won 2 games. Sorry, I'm 2-1.
Brian, I think Brian just made a good point too, and this is something that a lot of us can agree on. Tua has always looked good as long as he's healthy. Even going back to Alabama, as long as he's healthy, he looks good. Our main concern was obviously what happened with him as far as the concussions last year, but he seemed to bounce back from that. He's looking really, really well. Even if you're not a Dolphins fan, just watch a quarter of Tua out there playing. He spreads the ball around. And keep in mind, we won 70-20 without Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle, our second best receiver, didn't even play, and I'm pretty sure he's kicking himself, although he was on concussion protocol, because he could have been out there and he could have got him some nice yards too. Yep. But excited.
Even Mike White came in and threw a touchdown pass.
Mike White threw a nice touchdown. Yes. So, now Miami goes on the road and they travel to Buffalo next week. Let's just be honest. I'm a little upset. McDonald's didn't. Oh my God, that's a good one. I have a feeling Herb was going to bring that up too. So the NFL record for most points scored in a game, I think, is 70. Okay,
72. Just to clarify on this one, I asked Rodg this off the air, but then I said, I don't want the answer. I want you to answer it on the air.
Right. So what's the question?
That's that exact question. Are you mad? Because then you're bringing it up. Sorry, so I did cut you off there. 72 is the record. I
am a little upset. I wanted him to break the record, but I understand why McDaniel did it. He wanted to show respect even after a 50-point shellacking. He has respect for Sean Payton. Says, hey, look, we're just going to run the ball out, run the clock out, down it, turn it over to downs. We don't need to go out there and do that to them. So,
but doesn't your kicker need a little practice?
He got enough practice in the game kicking extra points.
The fan in me wishes he would have done it. I understand as a coach why you wouldn't. You've already taken your foot off the gas and you're still scoring. So
it would have been nice to say we have the record. But what if he kicked it and missed it? Then we really would have been like, oh crap, that really backfired.
Too much pressure on them.
Yeah, now Peyton's gonna say we're disrespectful. Now we miss. It's just gonna be weird.
Your defense was disrespectful though. You just don't like. And people said, were they running up the score? No, the starters were pulled, but you're a professional team getting paid to play.
Right.
Like if you give up 70, that's on you.
Right. This isn't Pee Wee League football or like high school football. You're getting paid. You're all professionals. The Broncos they have some decent players, but how do you give up 70 points? I'm extremely confused at that. And what does this put Sean Payton? Like how long is he going to be in Denver? What is? I don't even know what Denver does to kind of fix this going forward.
I don't know. I think they've got to figure out the Russell Wilson thing. And then, the problem is the money they owe him. So I don't think they can get off of that before they can move forward. I also do think he's going to be made a scapegoat for this. He didn't give up 70 points. So,
and the good thing about the Broncos is they play at Chicago next week, and then they host the Jets. Then they host the Jets. So these are 2 games that the Broncos are have a good chance of winning, but we shall see.
As a Raiders fan, but he put this in stars, so I don't know what
that word. Maybe it means beat or love. Maybe it means love them Broncos.
Or maybe that's different words. I'm not a fan them Broncos.
I'm not a fan them Broncos. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what Randy's saying. You got it, Randy. You got to clarify. And Brian agrees with Randy, even though we don't know what Randy said. So Randy, let us know what the asterisks mean there.
The records, I agree with this. Yeah, if they don't want to get embarrassed, they're being paid to stop them. So
yeah,
we'll do. And Raj, he liked your little no-look pass. Did you put that in? Was that a suggestion from you?
It was not a suggestion from me. But yeah, I saw it when it happened live. He did a no-look pass. I was like, a no-look shovel pass. I'm sorry to clarify, but I couldn't believe it. It was borderline disrespectful, but that's just how good Tua was looking at that game. It was so cool. I had never seen it, but it worked out perfectly. We got a touchdown.
Yep. And there's Ricky chiming in and go Birds. They're still not hit their full stride yet, and still 3-0. So that's what I like about Philadelphia. So obviously a room for them to return. I think it says something. And Football Talk with Bo, the show we watched in the morning, he's talked a little bit about this. I know actually talking to Ricky that he disagrees. So interesting to see your take. Bo thinks that the shorter preseason, the fewer games has led to sloppier play at the beginning of the year because teams are still trying to get into their stride. What do you think?
I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like throughout training camp and then the few preseason games that you have, I think teams have had enough time and ample time to kind of get ready. And I really don't want to see starters out there playing in preseason anyway. There's too much risk of getting injured. So, I think it just has to do with them just – if you're not prepared for a game, you're not prepared. But I don't think it has anything to do with preseason.
Right.
And some of these guys are veteran players. They've been playing in the league for a long time, so they know how to they know what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Jalen Carter is the overall number 1 pick. I would have agreed if Chicago had kept the pick, but for other teams, you got to chase a quarterback.
So Jalen Carter looked like an absolute monster last night.
Defensive rookie of the year. Yes, I'm totally with that.
Yes.
So, no, he's been a beast in the middle. So
yep,
I agree with that. Did I miss one up here? I don't think so. So you had a couple other games just because Brian mentioned, and he's also a Jags fan, and he'll be on next week. So hopefully have something better for him to talk about. But said they gave up a kick return by a fullback.
Yeah.
Did you see this?
It
wasn't even just a kick return. The man dropped the ball, went over, picked it up, and then ran around everybody and scored. That has to be one of the worst kick returns I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, what was everyone else doing? So, I don't know. That was just a crazy little weekend. So, none of the other games, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry. You do have one other game to talk about.
What's that?
Dallas at Arizona.
Oh yeah. That was definitely surprising on my end. Me being a Cowboys supporter, I was rooting for the Cowboys to win this game.
Is that like a jock supporter?
It just seems like the same issue with the Cowboys. Like their defenses, they still have one of the best defenses in the league, but offensively they just can't get things going. They just can't produce a lot of points. And Dak threw a really, really bad interception towards the end of the game. On the other side for Arizona, Josh Dobbs actually looked good and got the job done. I'm assuming Josh Dobbs is like a bridge quarterback. We know Kyler's hurt. I don't know how much longer Josh is going to be a starter, and it depends on what Arizona does in the draft. I can only assume they, without looking at their draft picks, that they go after another QB.
Arizona will have their pick, and they'll have Houston's. So
okay.
As long as those two teams lose, they're definitely going to be in the top one. Yep, definitely happy for Dobbs. Happy to see him doing well in that game. I heard he was actually trolling Michael Parsons after the game, so I have to go read that part again. But no, it's the Cardinals have been playing tough every game and then just blowing leads late. And I thought that was going to happen here, but it's sad to say Dak Prescott looked like Dak Prescott throwing that interception. Like there is no other comparison. And then of course, Dallas is waiting for the sky to be falling. So it's terrible whenever that kind of happens. But if you're Dallas and you're chasing a championship, you can't lose a team like Arizona.
You can't. And Dallas has New England next week, and then they have Then they go to the San Francisco on the 8th, so that's going to be a huge game for Dallas. But I would, judging right now, I'm probably going to pick San Francisco, to be honest with you.
Definitely. I agree. Yeah. And you can see all our picks on our YouTube channel. Go over there, check us out. Yep. College picks, NFL picks, and Alabama versus the world. The Mississippi State version this week is kind of interesting.
Very entertaining.
So, it's a little early. You want to go ahead and get into
let's do it.
Questions?
I know you're nervous. I know you're ready. Yeah.
And there's the last question. I agree with this.
It didn't work.
His coach is gone.
Kingsbury.
They're making him a scapegoat for a lot.
Yeah.
And this is the time to go ahead and reset. So I think the money is the problem here for him. I'd have to check the contract. But all things being equal, or like you say, in a vacuum, I would definitely move on from Kyler, draft your replacement. You've got 2 picks that you can probably do something with. Move on from him. Don't know that you have any trade value unless it was, you might just have to cut. But yeah, I think it's time to go.
But do you keep Dobbs?
It's like you said, as a bridge quarterback. So I don't like these situations where the rookie quarterbacks have to start their first year. Right. So if Dobbs finishes out this year and I drafted a quarterback, I would keep Dobbs for 1 more year. So I think that you need somebody out there so those guys can kind of learn. I think a lot of your best quarterback situations have happened because Patrick Mahomes didn't start, immediately when he got to Kansas City. So I just think it helps a quarterback to get those reps. So Kyler to Washington. I would take anybody to Washington. I mean, I guess Howell's there, but why not Kyler to the Jets? Anyway, go ahead with your questions, Rodg.
All right. Herb's 3 questions in depth. Herb, are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Bring it on.
We're going to start off with one of our favorite games here, Work, Play, Live. I'm going to give Herb 3 names. He needs to tell me out of these 3 people who he would rather work with, who he would rather live with, as far as this person being his neighbor, and somebody he wouldn't want to hang out with for a night. Work, Play, Live, Heisman edition.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, and Johnny Manziel.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you gotta go out with Johnny Manziel, right? I would that dude blew $5 million on drugs and drink, right? Yep. So you gotta go play with Johnny Manziel. So Baker will probably be the neighbor, I guess.
Okay.
Because I just remember the commercials where he was protect your home or whatever. He just seems like the guy that'd be out there drinking coffee, talking about your yard, helping you out. And Jameis, I will work with because you're either going to get good Jameis or bad Jameis, right? And good Jameis was those days will be working, we'll get like all this stuff done. And then on the bad days, he'll be the person I can blame everything on because he screwed it up. So it's
Jameis. Jameis told me not to turn it in, so I didn't. Jameis is.
Jameis the one that knocked it over and broke the whole thing. I can't even believe it. So yeah, and they're gonna believe me. So I wear glasses. I'm very believable, Rodg.
Gotcha. All right. So question number 2. This is a question I asked somewhat like this. Not you, but I asked this question. It was a similar question to a Pac-12 guest we had on one time. If they're going to recreate the movie The Hangover, which 3 to 4 SEC mascots would you want to be in that movie, The Hangover, the mascot edition?
Let's see.
Remember, only SEC mascots. Who?
The Rebel.
Okay.
For sure. What do we got there? We don't have any good human folks, do we?
We've got. There's a gator, Big Al.
Oh my gosh. I guess the Georgia Bulldog would have to be in there, but
that wouldn't be entertaining though. You just sit there.
Yeah, but he would be Zach Galifianakis' character.
Oh wow.
They look kind of similar. So I got a Bulldog, I got the Rebel in there. I would have Mississippi State's mascot in there just for the cowbell, just because he would be that annoying person walking around there. So I see that answer. The Tiger was already in it, but I already got an animal. I need somebody else that can. I mean, do I have to do a Commodore?
Is Big Al in here? Did you have Big Al or no?
No, I don't know. He's an elephant. I don't know if I want him. Maybe I'll have a volunteer in there.
Okay.
For the moonshine. Or a wildcat. I want somebody drunk, so I need one of those two. I'll have either a volunteer or a wildcat in there for that.
Gotcha.
We don't have any like cool humans though, but that's what I would go with.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Last one. This might take some time. So in
2020, so to address this, I thought this was true. The Rebel doesn't exist anymore. It's that ridiculous land shark thing. But you can't find, like, nobody says that or
yeah, nobody. I don't get the land shark thing. I understand they used to do that back in 2015, 16, whatever. But like, that's just, it looks weird. Let's just move on from that crap.
And Haru and Alan just stupid and come up clutch sometime.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, I like that. And so two people say I can't have Uga in there. You know what? Fine. You guys can have Uga back. Yeah. Uga is now out. Albie's now in for Zach Galifianakis.
Albie's in. Okay. Last question. Back in 2020, during our COVID year, Alabama went undefeated, won national championship. What if they're going to do a documentary or make a movie about that season? Which Hollywood actors would you get to play this coach and these athletes? Nick Saban, Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris. Which Hollywood actors are going to play
Nick Saban would be Tommy Lee Jones for sure.
Okay.
At the end of this. Who
do you say? Jones, Mac Devontae Jones? Smith, Najee Harris.
Mac Jones will be like, I don't know, like a Michael J. Fox back in the day. If I need a current guy though, who were the other two? Devontae Smith
and Najee Harris.
Devontae Smith will be like Urkel.
Jaleel White would be.
Yeah, but it is Urkel because Devontae's just so tiny, man, and he's got like a soft voice, so it'd be like it'd be something like that for sure. Najee would be like Tay Diggs. He's just so cool, man.
That don't even look alike.
Oh, I gotta have him look alike?
Yeah, you know. I mean,
yes, there you go. Najee Harris would be Ice Cube's son. There, I needed somebody like that. So
okay.
That would be it. So I got to get Mac Jones back in here.
Yes, Mac Jones. Who's playing Mac Jones?
Who? Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones.
Nobody's ever said that.
Well, I mean, that's what I think of when I think of Mac Jones.
Gotcha.
So I need like a cool guy who's like kind of nerdy, but can play and do football pretty specifically well. Like I don't know, like Ice Cube or
Ice Cube playing Mac Jones.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm going with. Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen. Shout out to Brian for those last two.
Mac Jones would be Seth. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adam Sandler would be a good, the guy off
one.
Jarhead. I'd have to go back and check Jarhead out again. I watch and I'm thinking about it off the air. So.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's all I got.
Nice.
Awesome show.
All right, Rodg. Awesome. He's talking about Jake Gyllenhaal. I think is who he's talking about, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
That would actually be a good. That would be a good one for Mac Jones.
I know.
So, what do you mean? You know. All right, Raj. We're gonna end, I guess, a couple minutes early. I know you've got twins. That's why we're
I gotta go check on them.
2 minutes early.
Thank you.
One for each twin.
The jokes never stop.
Well, they never do. I'm getting all my uncle jokes ready. So
gotcha.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate all
Thank
the
you so much,
comments,
y'all. We appreciate
all
your support.
Stuff. Next week, like you said, Brian will be on here. Brian is bringing a friend who they will spar all week. Rod and I are just gonna bring popcorn and drink and just watch the whole thing.
We're just gonna watch. I'm not even gonna. Yeah, we're just gonna let y'all hash it out.
Red River rivalry next week, Oklahoma and Texas. Tune in for that. Also, please do check out our YouTube channel. We coming out this weekend. We've got Bama versus World Mississippi State. We also have our college picks and our NFL picks. Our NFL picks and college picks are money. If you watch them and do the opposite,
you're good.
You're good to go.
You're good.
For Herb Rodg and Herb Rodg Podcast, appreciate everybody listening. Have a wonderful night. And as always,
roll Tide.
Roll Tide.